The most powerful navy in human history just admitted it cannot safely escort a single tanker through a 33-kilometer strait. The Strait of Hormuz, the choke point through which 20% of the world's oil flows, is effectively shut down. And Iran, the country we were supposed to defeat in weeks, is the one holding the keys. Today, we are covering what is actually happening, not what the White House wants you to believe. The war has entered its 16th day, and the gap between official statements and reality is growing by the hour. Plus, a shooting in Texas with disturbing signs of extremism, Ukrainian drones now protecting American bases, and New York City staring into a financial abyss. Stay with me. And if you find value in what we do, hit that like button and subscribe. Every fact check takes time, and your support keeps this channel honest. The most important story I have saved for the very end. Here is what Iran actually did. A senior military commander announced 3 conditions that changed the entire structure of this conflict. First, not a single drop of oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz if it benefits the United States or its allies. Second, any tanker heading to those countries is a legitimate military target. And third, they intend to push oil prices to $200 a barrel. This is not bluster. 700 tankers sit trapped in the northern part of the Persian Gulf, unable to pass. The largest liquefied natural gas terminal in Qatar, handling 20% of the world's supply, has been offline since a drone struck its support systems. British Airways cancelled all flights to Abu Dhabi through the end of the year. Simultaneously, Iran announced it has shifted from proportional responses to continuous preemptive strikes without specific triggers. In other words, they will hit whenever they want. And you know what the most interesting part is? Iran is still exporting its own oil. Nearly 12 million barrels moved through the strait, all heading to China, protected by the Revolutionary Guard. Iran decides who gets oil and who does not. They even published a hit list of economic targets: Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia. This is not a traditional war. This is economic warfare on a scale we have not seen since the 70s. But that is only half the story. A retired colonel who served as Chief of Staff to Secretary of State Colin Powell revealed that the Landstuhl military hospital in Germany stopped accepting civilians and issued an emergency call for blood donations. Walter Reed switched to wartime operations. These are not the actions of an army winning decisively. At the naval base in Bahrain, satellite terminals worth over $1 billion destroyed. Cranes for loading missiles gone. Ships now sail to Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean just to reload. And here is the kicker. Congressional briefings revealed the decision to launch this war was made without input from intelligence professionals. The advisors? A real estate developer, a television host turned Pentagon appointee, and a businessman. The admiral who objected was fired. 5,000 air sorties. 20,000 buildings destroyed. And yet, here is a question for you. Has the strategic situation actually improved? Iran deployed a hypersonic missile called Fatah-2 that maneuvers in flight and disabled 5 refueling tankers in Saudi Arabia with a single warhead. Israel reported 6 air raid alerts in a single day, with impacts across multiple cities and dozens of casualties. The United Arab Emirates intercepted over 1,600 drones and 300 missiles in 2 weeks. But the math does not work. Iran has roughly 50,000 drones in reserve, and each one costs a fraction of what it takes to shoot it down. Israel warned Washington it is running critically low on ballistic missile interceptors. A former close advisor publicly stated this needs to stop before it turns catastrophic. That is not the opposition talking. That is someone from the inner circle. And now, this is where it gets really interesting. The cost? $11 billion in the first 6 days alone. Only 25% of Americans support the strikes. Goldman Sachs projects oil surpassing $100 a barrel. Gas stations are already charging premium prices for regular fuel. The Senate voted down a War Powers resolution that would have forced the president to stop, so this continues with no congressional check. Meanwhile, in Austin, Texas, a gunman opened fire near a bar district. 3 lost their lives, 14 wounded. The FBI found indicators of extremism on the suspect and in his vehicle. New York, Los Angeles, and Phoenix went to heightened security. Congress canceled its Monday session. If confirmed, this would be the first ideologically motivated attack on American soil since the war began. On one hand, it strengthens the case for action abroad. On the other, it feeds the fear that this war is provoking exactly what it was supposed to prevent. Think about that for a second. Now, a twist nobody predicted. Ukrainian military units with interceptor drones arrived in Gulf states and Jordan to protect American bases. Cost of a Ukrainian interceptor, $1,000 to $2,000. A Patriot missile, $3 to $4 million. Effectiveness against Iranian drones, 60 to 70%. 11 countries have requested help. Saudi Arabia proposed a joint drone production deal. Here is the irony. The country that cannot protect its own power grid is now defending American bases more effectively than American systems. The president who wanted to cut Ukraine loose now needs Ukrainian technology to protect his own soldiers. The wars in Iran and Ukraine just merged through one thread: drone technology. Closer to home, New York City faces a $5.4 billion deficit. The mayor proposed either taxing top earners or raising property taxes by nearly 10%. Protesters stormed City Hall. One homeowner saw taxes jump from $3,000 to $11,000. Retirees on fixed incomes say they cannot absorb more. Meanwhile, the city launched free childcare at $20,000 per child, available regardless of income or status. Free programs, higher taxes, middle-class exodus, shrinking tax base, even higher taxes. A vicious cycle heading for every major American city. And now, the story I promised. While America bleeds resources in the Middle East, Russia is quietly getting richer by the day. The Russian president offered a deal. Iran hands its 460 kilograms of enriched uranium to Russia for safekeeping. The war ends, sanctions lifted, and Russia transforms from pariah to peacemaker. The American president said no, firmly. Reportedly for the first time in their relationship, but that rejection changes nothing about the bigger picture. Oil and gas prices are skyrocketing, filling Russian coffers. Russia holds a veto at the Security Council, without which the forced demining of the strait is legally impossible. Russia condemns American strikes as unprovoked aggression, while itself waging a war of aggression against a neighbor. The European Commission president called any return to Russian energy a strategic mistake. But the Russian leader is already threatening to cut gas to Europe entirely and redirect to higher-paying markets. The aggressor plays peacemaker while profiting from chaos. Classic. The American president heads to Beijing at the end of March. China, the only country still receiving oil through the strait, will set the terms. Marines are en route but will not arrive for 2 weeks. Without functioning bases in the Gulf, their options are limited. The question is not whether America can destroy Iranian military hardware. It can. The question is whether anyone in Washington has a plan for what comes next. Because right now, as one senator reportedly said after a classified briefing, this is starting to look like a new chapter of a very old and very painful American story. Every like, every comment, every share adds up. The algorithm pushes videos with engagement to more people who need to see them. That is how independent journalism survives. We do not have corporate sponsors telling us what to say. We have you. The research takes hours, cross-referencing sources, verifying claims, cutting through the noise. If you believe that matters, consider becoming a sponsor or using Super Thanks. Your support is not charity. It is a statement that independent voices matter. Drop a comment. Share this with someone who needs the full picture. And thank you, genuinely, for being part of this community. It means more than you know.